the September 3rd, 2024 Parks Commission. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of agenda. Does anybody have any additions or changes?
Yes, we added one thing to the agenda. It would be item D, adopt a park program.
Okay. All right. Consent agenda. Approval of Park Commission minutes from August 19th.
I thought they all looked good. I motion to.
Did you get an approval in a second on the agenda?
Yeah, Dave, you need to approve the agenda.
Learning lesson. Apologies, everybody. Can I get a first and a second for the approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? All right, consent agenda. Approval of the commission minutes from August 19th.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? All right. Open forum. Do we have anybody online?
Nope, nobody's on.
All right. Council update. Councilman Prost.
Yeah, so we've had, I think, only one meeting since our last Parks meeting, and so we went through a few things. I'll run through them here. The Riverwalk 3rd edition was part of the consent, so was an EDA appointments. They're now back to all their chairs being full. There was a concept plan for a French Lake Road development, which is a development that's split between Champlin and Dayton. The builder came in and wanted us to annex our part of the city over to Champlin to make it easier for them, was what I got away from that. I'm editorializing a little bit, but watch for more updates. Mr. Kangas came in and gave a parks update. If you haven't watched it, I would encourage you to. I think it sounds like, Marty, that we have possibly a better plan for getting this stuff done next year. My biggest recommendation was that we use Gantt charts to start plotting these out and when things are going to be done and what has to be done when and in sequential order, so we can make sure that we start early enough and we have enough time, because we now have had a whole year longer. So I'd be really bummed if we miss the timeline again for any reason, because everyone's known about it for an extra year. And so no more excuses around getting that stuff done in the spring. We talked about term limits for commission members. I think the ultimate goal was less about maybe getting term limits, but more the conversations, which is how do we get more applicants. So I think an example on the Parks Commission, when Doug didn't reapply right away, and then I might get it wrong, Kaya applied. We have more applicants in. If we wouldn't have had that extra time, then she never had a chance to apply at all, and we wouldn't have even known that she was interested. So we talked about how do we get more applicants, whether that's using the event at the Public Works and having people sign up that they're interested then, and so then when a position comes open, we can reach out to them and say, is position open? So kind of pre-applying, if you will, and get a pool of applicants, or just leaving it open longer. So we left it with the city to kind of come up with some ideas around what we can do around that, just to make sure we're getting, if we have one choice of one, it's not really a choice, right? It's what's there. And so I think making sure that we've got a good pool to choose from is important for all the commissions.
I will say we did have a note by each, the Park Commission and Planning Commission, or EDA, I believe it was, tables that said there's openings for the commission. So there was something, we just didn't have like the official applications.
Yeah, perfect.
I think someone made a comment about the fire department signs, like maybe as a joke or tongue in cheek, but realistically, like 99% of people are like, yeah, I see the signs every year, so I signed up. Like, so, we got the signs, they work.
Yeah.
Might cost some money, I guess, to print parks on them, but.
Agreed, yeah. And then we went through an interim use permit for a homeschooling co-op, interim use permit for Magnus for a event center. We officially denied the event center ordinance the edit to the event center ordinance. And then the Central Park parking lot project. So we voted to pave the lot right here. So for whatever reason, bituminous or the blacktop has been super cheap this year, way cheaper than we expected. So all of our roads projects have come in under budgets. Then we added more road projects, and those again came under budget. And so we had extra money, and we were trying to figure out, do we save it or do we do with it? And I think it was council member David Fashant that brought up, hey, why don't we think about paving this? And so we got some bids on it, and those still came in under what we had budgeted this year. So
Cool.
That will get paved. It will get paved sometime between now and November. And so
Even
the
this
school's
year.
on board with it, and they're ready. They're only going to pave it, they're going to paint it, and they're going to get more spots there. And then we also looked at, if that still isn't enough space, there are some ways that we can expand that parking lot even more and pave it more in the future. Next year, we are scheduled to do some road work on South Diamond Lake Road. And so if we need extra space, we can always try to roll it in as part of that project as an alternative, and then see where the bids come in. And so, so that should get done soon. So hopefully before the snow hits the ground, we don't get too much early snow.
Yeah.
And then it'll be more plowable and easier I know it's used for parent pickup, I think for all the kids, like M through Z or whatever it is. And then, so it should make it easier in, easier out, and more parking spaces. So that was the last meeting. Any questions for me?
With the Kangas item that was discussed, was there any discussion for other options of firms that could come in and do the same work that he was doing? Because like you said, we essentially lost a whole year.
Yeah, I don't think we've hid the fact that we have been out looking for other firms that could do work for us in the future. I think my understanding, Marty, you can correct me if I misspeak at any point in time, is that to bring another firm in now would actually put us back. So finishing out at least the projects we were supposed to get done this year with Paul make the most sense from a timeline perspective. But going forward, it's something that we are considering using other firms. I think you've got two other firms on top of three other.
Three other interested parties that we're going to push an RFP out to them. That's what we discussed what you guys were looking for on an RFP at the last meeting. So that's going to form the basis of the RFP, and we'll put it out to them and see what they come back with for proposals for LC Stevens Park future phases.
Awesome.
Thank you. Any other questions for Councilman Trost?
I don't have any. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to the regular meeting. Item B, memorial benches and site furniture discussion.
Good evening, Commission members and Chair Dave, Mr. Pakal. So what I wanted to do with this, we've put into place a memorial bench and donations policy. I've had a few people ask about what the costs of memorial benches are, what they look like and all that kind of stuff. The first time that we did this, I did a little bit of research, and we found this bench that the resident liked, and that's kind of, we looked at 4 or 5 different benches. They came with a simple wooden bench which wouldn't last. It didn't have any longevity about it, so we convinced them into buying. They actually bought 2 of these benches over at Rivers Bend Park. They've been in, I think, 2 years, maybe 3. They paid for the bench. We put the concrete in around it. Now I've got at least one other person looking to do a memorial bench. I've been asking them what their budget is. They've not got back. This has been going back and forth for about 18 months now. They want to do it, then they don't want to do it, and then they do want to do it. But it's kind of, brought to my mind that we need to have something, that this is the type of bench that we could put in this type of park. This is the size of bench. These are the materials that we want to use. I don't know. I'm looking for guidance from you guys. What that should look like. How much detail do we want from them? There's a lot of alternative styles out there. I pulled just a couple up of communications that I've had with companies. There's all kinds of different stuff, from small benches, wooden benches, these type of benches with the metal background, small ones, big ones. So that led me to this discussion. Locations is going to be something that we need to discuss, because you're going to want to have, maybe in the old village people want a memorial bench, so there's only one real park there, McNeil Park, where they're all going to go. So, I mean, we can't have all those in there. So it might be good to have a map, a GIS map, saying, this area is available, this area is available, or whatever. And these are just my ideas, so I want some feedback from you guys. Do we want to have one style of bench for the entire city, or should we have some variations to suit the type of park we will be locating it in? So a passive park would have a different vibe to an active park. So maybe a passive park is a wooden type bench, whereas an active park is a more industrial style, and then we'll have to build in some flexibility of price point, because everybody who wants to donate a memorial bench has a different budget. The person who put the 2 benches in had a bigger budget. She put in, I think, somewhere near $2,000 into those 2 benches. But other people may only have $700 or whatever. So we need to have that as a factor as well. And then that led me on to thinking, what do we want to do about site furniture for parks? Do we want to standardise all the parks with the site furniture, or do we want to have variation to suit the park that's going in? I don't know if any of you guys have looked around the existing parks at the furniture that we have in those. Are there any things that you like in there? Are there things that you don't like? And so that's another thing that we need to discuss. We want to build the park with the site furniture being whatever we get that suits that park, or do we have set furniture for it? And that leads to another point. If we can bulk buy furniture, we might get a better price on some of it. So that's another thing. That leads on to the next thing. Do we want to make the parks unique and furniture picked out with the park design? Should we set a standard of details for some aspects of the furniture, i.e. materials, sizes, colours, how it's secured to a pad? Some may not be secured to a pad, that kind of thing. So that's just my broad brushstrokes of what I would like to get back from you guys. I'm open for discussion now. It seems that's what I bring to you all the time these days.
Right.
Were there questions before this slide to consider? Oh yeah, so the location. I like the idea of the map that you said for available ones. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it would be pretty simple to put together.
100% agree.
And it might be good to add in, we could develop that map out to include playground equipment, what type of playground equipment we have already got in different playgrounds, bike racks and all that kind of stuff. So we have build out a bigger picture. But there's, for the memorial bench, I think that this would be important to have that idea.
Can I ask about the planters that people can, buy for a year pretty much? Just have their name placard on it?
Yeah.
What is the cost, or what is the policy that the city has for that?
That is an EDA-driven, EDA-driven initiative. They rent the planter for a year, and I think it's $200 for the year for the plaque on there. The EDA actually purchased the planters from their funds, and then we have somebody who maintains the plants, plants them up, taking that $200 and buying the plants and all the stuff for that from there.
I bring that up as a subject to help offset some of the costs. If somebody's coming, with $700 in their budget, the bench is $2,000, is it better to have a couple of those that we could rent every year? Or, revolving type thing.
And I think there are various other things in the donations policy, that they can do that are cheaper options.
Yeah.
I think that was the idea of having a number of different
like-
options in that donations policy. It's not just based around benches, it's trees and other stuff in there.
Okay, so they could pretty much donate a whole park. Grand scheme of things, they can
Yeah,
put the bench
well-
in the trash.
We'd love
trees.
to.
Yeah, I think there's even a part in there about donating land as well. So,
Well, my first thought for a lower cost is like the Maple Grove Arboretum. They have a little walk with bricks, and I'd imagine you could probably do that for quite a bit cheaper if you wanted to. And still, it's a nice, meaningful way to capture some kind of memory.
and I think we also talked about that kind of a thing for the memorial
The
park as
veterans
well.
one too.
Yeah, that would be neat. As far as style goes, I mean, I like the idea of keeping everything the same, but at the same time, if there's like a super naturey park, that bright blue bench would maybe
Yeah.
not work so well, so.
And in the past, there's been a drive to make all the parks unique as well, and that could, it could be just the play equipment that makes it unique, or the features that make it unique. Doesn't mean to say that the furniture doesn't have to, can't be the same as the rest of the stuff in the city.
What could it be?
So-
Sorry, go ahead.
So if we have a list of options for them to be able to look at, and some of them are pretty neutral and others are bright colors, it obviously will fit in some parks and not others. Do we ultimately, in the end, is there an approval process so that somebody doesn't look at the 3 approved benches, pick one and pick their site, and yet we don't want those to mesh?
I think there will be an approval process, and that's what we did with the previous one. They would come through me, and then we would identify a location and what the appropriate park bench is for that location.
Okay, so then my second question is, at one time, all the parks were going to be in this color, and then now we're kind of moving.
I would still,
Is that still the same thing? Because
I would like to continue that theme because that's what we started.
and so the benches should then be within that color range.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, if they're a natural wood type product, then we would probably go with the natural look of the wood. Again, because that would suit the environment that it's been put in.
Could you take, with this map showing the locations, sometimes you can have when you click on it, an image could show up. Could you have the type of bench that would fit best in that environment as the image that shows up?
I'm sure it's technically possible, but
You're
I don't know that.
that's not me. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we could do, I'm sure there's ways of doing that. but-
Yeah. Because then it could kind of, as people get it in their minds, they'll already have had that initial visual cue of
Yeah.
clicking here, I see a nice.
Everybody likes to see it in their room or
Natural
whatever,
bench,
that's
yeah.
kind of the way we can do it. But generally, I find that face-to-face meetings are very good with this, and, the one that I've done before, it's kind of an emotional thing for the people who are doing this. And, they will have initial ideas, and then you'll present stuff, and they'll say, okay, I like that, and then 2 months later, they'll come back and say, oh, I'm not sure about that, can we go over the process again? So, I mean, it does take a long time to get these things in place.
Sure. You said those 2 benches were $2,000?
Somewhere in that region, yeah.
How long ago was that?
I think 3 years ago.
Okay, so about $1,500 a bench, would you guess, for the metal one?
I think for that
1,000
type
for
of
wood?
bench, I think the last price I saw on it was 14, something around
Sure.
that, so 1,500, yeah.
Okay.
Were those including the 15% staff time, or was that
No,
that's just part of the new
we
policy?
donated the staff time to
Okay.
put the bench, the concrete pad and the assembly and that kind of stuff.
Sure, I think it makes sense to include. I was just curious if that was. I like the idea of having somewhat of a catalog, because I know if I was in that situation, I might be not know where to start even looking.
Yeah.
If you gave me a catalog, I'd probably be, oh, great, 2 or 3 options, I can handle that, that's,
Yeah.
you know, consumable. Well, if we can leave a way for, you know, approval of exceptions, I think that would
Yeah.
make sense for unique parks or unique situations. And obviously, you've included a lot more of the benches, which I like as well.
And I think that there's hundreds of catalogs out there. A lot of them have similar stuff in, but then some of them they don't do as memorial benches and stuff. So if you got somebody with a catalog, they come in and bring, I want this bench, and then you say, well, they don't do it as a memorial bench. There's no place for a placard and blah blah blah. So to trim that effort down, if we had 4 or 5 different styles that come in different sizes for different price ranges, I think that would be appropriate.
Especially for the memorial type benches.
Yeah.
There can still be other benches that are other types that might fit aesthetics, but for memorials, that might make sense because they have those requirements of placarding and.
So I'd be looking at some direction from you guys as to what that actually looks like. Do you want metal benches or wood benches, industrial style, blah, blah, blah.
So would you like us, I guess I'm wondering what our next point is then. Do you want us to go and try to bring
would like-
actual pictures to you?
Yeah,
or what
if you
is
could
it?
get some pictures of stuff that you do like,
Okay.
and that would make my life a lot easier. Otherwise, I'm just cutting and pasting stuff from catalogs and sending it to you, and then you'll say yes, no. But I think if you can bring me stuff that you like, then that gives us a good starting point, and then we can trim that down by voting on it.
Are there certain
Okay.
vendors or catalogs that you'd be able, that would be easier for you to work with, or is it just go Google memorial benches and have?
I think it doesn't really matter
Okay.
to me.
By the next Parks meeting, you want this, or?
I don't know what's on the agenda for the next Parks meeting.
Well, as long as we submitted them to you by the Parks meeting, doesn't mean we have to put them in the agenda, but.
Yeah, if you can get them to me by that time frame, that'd be good.
Sure.
Because then it'd still be fresh in my mind.
Homework needs an end date, come on now.
This is true.
I think the hardest part is just figuring out what the cost is, because we can all go to a park or search online and be like, that looks really awesome, that looks really awesome,
Yeah.
and send it to you. But reality is do we have
Yeah.
what is the budget?
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what the cost of those things are kind of tricky.
Yeah.
As you know,
Yeah.
you're going to send a bunch of stuff in and we'll find out what it costs, I guess.
Yeah, and that's another important part of this process. But let's see what you like first, and then see what the cost comparison is, and what that all comes down to.
For sure.
Okay.
So then I'd like a similar type of thing from you guys for general parks as well. What kind of furniture do you like to see in parks? What in Dayton parks that we have already is fits in that park that you think would be good in other parks, or even if it's stuff that you've seen Maple Grove or Champlain or wherever, maybe Iceland, I don't know. That would be appropriate in Dayton that we would want to see here.
Also due by the next meeting, doesn't mean we have to discuss it.
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
And you're going as far as equipment, everything,
whatever you
Swings,
think is
slides.
appropriate.
I got ideas.
porta potties.
Porta potties.
Yeah.
Right.
Are we going back there again?
Yeah, I think we've
Well,
got to go
zip
back there at
line.
some stage.
Kind of
Online, yeah.
on the benches topic, there's a resident who was driving his bike through, e-bike, whatever, and was talking to me about Leathers Park. He stops by and asks about Leathers from time to time, and he was asking about how do you get not a memorial bench, but if he just thought like the city, how do you get a public bench? How do you request that for a park, like maybe Leathers or something?
Okay.
Like, what's the process for that? If, like, say I don't necessarily want to pay for a memorial one, but I think everyone would benefit. This is a good spot.
I think if you just direct them to me,
Direct them to you, okay.
and then we'll work it out from there.
Leathers is looking nice, by the way. I don't know what's in there right now, but it's actually all even. They were
It's just
doing a
been
photo
mowed.
shoot the other day.
It's just been mowed. They're going to be coming through and spraying it to kill it all soon. So.
Okay, good. Like for the first time in 2 or 3 years, it looks nice.
Yeah. So yeah, they should be.
Someone was asking me about they should do sunflowers, and I said no, please don't.
I better go get some photos.
I'll Airbnb my house out.
No, we don't want to go back there.
So all park equipment, slides, swings, benches, whatever we've
Yeah, all
seen
that
that
stuff.
we need,
Yeah,
that would
I've
then
got-
be a standard.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think a lot of the play equipment is going to be different in every park, but if there's specific items that you think would be really good in a Dayton park, then we can incorporate that into the design. I think that, we need to vary it. We can't have a zip line in every park.
No.
Stop.
But like the swings at Rivers Bend that little kids can actually go in with
Yeah.
with a parent. Those
Yeah,
are
the
like
ADA
super
compliant
cool.
stuff. And if you see any more good ADA compliant stuff, that would be great, because it's kind of limited to what we see from our vendors at the moment. So
And when we were looking at benches, a quick Google, and they're talking about ADA compliant benches. Is that there's considerations to make there? I suppose. So
Yeah.
that's something we should probably
yeah.
keep in mind. Is
So, yeah.
ideally they're ADA marked or
And generally, I mean, I think more of the ADA stuff is when you have a bench and a table there, so they
Okay.
can access the end of the table. So
I'm
the
curious what.
tabletop extends.
So they're just trying to charge more for saying it's ADA. And
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know how a bench is ADA compliant versus not, unless it's like too
Yeah.
high, but I can't think of
I think
any
it's
other
just a
reason
really
why.
high back, maybe. Anyway, I'll dig into that more on my own time.
Can I see your other slides so I can write down those questions?
Could you share these slides out with us?
Sure. I mean,
'Cause I like some of the thinking points, kind of.
hmm I think Danielle did a great job with the graphics there. So she made my words work.
Okay. She's
All right.
ready.
So I'll wait to see your homework.
All right, thank you.
Do you need to say the next?
I'm sorry. Item C, bounce pad discussion.
Yes, commission member Chambers brought it to our attention that it's something she experienced in Iceland. So I'll first let you kind of share your experience with
Sure.
this, and then I can go over, I just did a little research on it for pricing and
Yeah.
stuff.
So I don't know how many years ago Iceland decided to do this, but they were like, we're going to put these bounce pads all over the country. And they like to tout as a country too that they're very family oriented and like lots of, open access for kids to play everywhere. And, they have cold weather. We have cold weather. So I figured if they've got these outside in their winter, we could definitely also have them outside. But my kids have used the indoor one at the indoor playground in Maple Grove. Yeah, at Playground Plaza, which is not cheap to go to a lot. And I don't think that there are any that are just like open to the public for free anywhere in the city that I've seen.
Buffalo, there's an orchard that's outdoors, but usually there's tokens that they sometimes make you actually pay for.
Yeah, okay.
But
So just thinking of what's a
they're super
unique,
cool.
cool thing that could
Yeah.
draw people to a park in Dayton, I feel like, we had a blast on the bounce pads that we saw in Iceland, and there were tons of kids coming in and playing on them because they're just free and open to the public. And I, honestly don't know a whole lot about the cost and everything, so thank you for doing the research on that. But I do think that they would be a big draw, that you could even have, you'd get more like kids parties that might try to like book,
Oh, yeah.
seating
My kids
at
are
the
talking about
park.
that park constantly.
Right, yeah. I'm sure they would want to like go and have friends come and jump in the bounce pad and then eat their cake or whatever. So, I just thought this would be a cool option for something that could set LC students apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
I reached out to like the original jumping pillows, so they've been around for like 30 years. And then this is the pricing that they gave back to me. Obviously, there's a bunch of different sizes, as you can see. And this particular company they do everything. So the only thing that wouldn't be included would be the excavator that needed to be on site for them, the installation crew, and then the sand that would go around the pillow area for cushion. And so this would be like the high-end cost, around $18,000. just for the installation and materials. And then on the lower end would be around the $12,000. For reference, this JP7 would fit around like 40 to 45 kids with this particular company.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. And that's,
Is that them all just like standing next to each other though?
that was the range they gave me. And I guess compared to other companies, their material is more durable, so I guess it would depend on the company that you go with, but they say that theirs can fit more kids than others.
So I have seen one of these at one of the Boy Scout camps, and my kids have been, my older kids, my teens have been on it, and they do enjoy it. I guess my concern is when you have it, like that was in a contained spot, right? We were at a Boy Scouts of America camp. So they had workers, they had leaders. So how do you, having something like this in a public park, what is the liability for the city and trying to keep kids, the amount of kids on it and off for safety reasons? You know, when you have swings, you only have 5 swings. You only have 5 kids. So I guess that's one of my concerns.
Right.
Is when you get a bunch of teens on there, they can get,
Reckless.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so Playground Plaza, which Kai referenced, like the way they do it is they basically have an age recommendation for who's supposed to be on it, and that's how they get around it. Because they don't have, the one guy owns it, but they never have anyone actually working in there. So
Okay.
they've got their stuff, and we would have to do the same thing, but basically they've covered themselves all the ways possible. With this is set up for this many people. If you go over that, you're at your own risk. It's designed for these ages. If you're after that, basically covering themselves in any way possible for any
Yeah.
insurance, whatever could potentially happen. I think we'd have to do the same.
And it's
Yeah,
like
there's
no
some
shoes
signage.
and, yeah.
No shoes, certain ages, certain weights, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the bigger question I had was just what would maintenance look like for us from a weather perspective.
Yeah.
So like if let's say it rained recently and someone has a birthday party and 50 people show up and it's wet,
And everyone's like,
again, probably just have to have some form of, what is our plan
Right.
to handle that? And just like the sand, you start thinking about sand going around the perimeter of that. It's probably going to be a couple $1,000s worth of sand to do that, and then the excavator is going to be a couple thousand or more. So now a $18,000 plan looks closer to 30, and then we have to add it to insurance or whatever, however we want to cover it. I think it's fantastic. I'm just saying there's some more little things,
Definitely.
but I think it looks awesome. Is it something that USA Inflatables could do? Like, could they just build this? The guys down the road?
Well, these are permanent
Right.
fixtures, so.
Could they build it though with all the stuff they have?
I think I'd much rather have these guys build it than USA Inflatables.
Stability plastic. all
And
that
then,
stuff.
so they this is like them coming and installing it, and then they said if you wanted to install it yourself, it was an $1,800 price discount. So,
No,
I don't know
we
about
definitely
the-
let them do
I think
it.
we want the
Yeah.
pros
Yeah.
probably.
I don't know about the sand thing, if that's like a requirement or not, but the ones that, and it's in the picture here too, in Iceland they had, it was grass with like this rubber, like there's like holes in the, like a rubber mat that you'd have in your basement or something like that,
Oh, okay.
so that the ground does not shift, but you also don't have sand getting everywhere. So there's still like
Or
grass
washing
kind
away.
of
Almost like an artificial turf.
I mean, it was real grass growing out of the rubber,
Yeah.
but if you can kind of see it in
Yeah.
in this photo here, but.
It probably might be something that you'd want to do like the poured-in-place rubber that we have around some of the playground equipment. That'd be a
Right.
little expensive, but that would give you a lot more permanent in place.
It'd be nice to. If
Last
you can avoid
longer.
sand, because then it's getting in your shoes because you're taking your shoes on and
Yeah.
off. That wasn't.
And then you have to
a
fill the
drawback.
sand each year. So if there's a way
Yeah.
to do it without it, that'd be.
Yeah.
That'd be
Um,
premium.
Do
And they've gone away from using sand in playgrounds. That's why we use the wood chips. I think the Department of Health didn't like
That makes
to have
sense.
the sand in playgrounds anymore. Just health
we-
reasons.
It's very
Do
dirty.
we know how to handle it for the winter? Like, is there a putting to
a
bed
window
process?
cover.
Do you deflate? Do you cover?
Yeah,
Do
there's
you-
so this is like the next one. This is their kind of additional costs if you wanted to purchase a cover. That would be,
Does that allow you to
This year.
use it in the winter or just store it for the winter? Like, are people still jumping
you wouldn't
on it?
use it
I
in
don't
the
think
winter,
that,
no.
yeah, you're using it in the
Take your
winter.
boots
No,
off.
it would be deflated and,
Okay.
so it would be on like a timer every day. It would inflate at whatever time, deflate
really?
at
Okay.
night.
Oh, cool.
Or else
So you're
you
not
can
gonna have people
someone
at
physically-
4 AM
Yeah.
screaming and jumping on this thing.
Well, you may.
I mean, okay, I guess I can't guarantee that.
With the plates on them.
And the Cheetos bags will be there too.
From a safety slash knowing what actually went down perspective, would this be something that we'd probably want to monitor with a camera?
So the one, not this company, but another company I reached out to, she said that in Illinois they just put one in and they put a gate around it with a camera for just their own safety.
I'm just thinking, like, if whatever happens, whatever it could be, there's a million different ways it could go. Cameras are fairly inexpensive at this point to monitor that, just from an injury standpoint or a destruction, vandalism, whatever it may be.
Yeah, no, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay, so I think it's a really cool idea.
And then
It's-
here's like those kind of what you could place outside just to.
Yeah. Whatever the
Cover.
lawyers think we need.
Yeah.
So does the cost, is there a an inflator, motor that comes with this thing as well?
Yep,
So
these
we'll
are
back
the
it-
all-inclusive costs. And then this is like if you needed a new blower, it would be
Okay,
this
then-
much. It would,
$295.
So that's included in the original purchase price?
yep.
So we'd have to have somewhere with power there to run that as
Yeah,
well?
probably a decent.
Yeah.
I would be interested to find out what the daily cost would be.
That was the other thing I was wondering about too. Yeah, I don't know what the daily is. I don't know what's air.
And do we have to take out a different insurance policy for it?
Probably not. I would imagine League of Minnesota Cities Insurance would cover pretty much all this, but we obviously would check that.
Put up whatever kind of signage they want us to put up, and hopefully
Right.
that's good enough. Sneaker keeper, well, that's kind of neat.
Yeah,
Kinda
they have,
expensive,
this
but-
company put in one at the Renaissance
PVC
this year.
I feel like we could make that ourselves.
Right.
Group
Really big
project.
3D printer.
But when you look at that
Boy
space
Scout
at
on it.
LC Stevens, like, this is literally the perfect answer.
Yeah, and
In
it's
my
a-
opinion.
I think
like-
it's a cool draw to a park that's meant to be a draw, whereas, you know, any other neighborhood park, this would be not really.
So much easier than the golf driving range or anything. Or any of the stupid things I said.
Is there any other colors or?
Well, it says customizable, unique to
I
the
think
brand.
these are like their main
Personalization.
colors, but you could probably customize it for a cost.
I mean, these are all things that we can find out.
Yeah,
as we
this was
research.
just like if we wanted to.
Yeah, if we want to
move
go with this,
forward
if
or-
there's interest, then we'll pursue it and find out all the details with it.
And then another thing, obviously here, you can see there's sunshades on this one. Which is kind of a neat idea too, which would save the fading of the
Oh, yeah.
Right.
tarp.
It'll be very busy in the hot summer then too.
Yeah.
So next step at LC Stevens,
Stevens,
do we bring back the splash pad idea then? With like the bounce, 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 run through the water, bounce, 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 run through the water. Like that could be, or is that
gosh.
just, are we taking it too far?
Wet feet.
Yeah,
on
that
the-
would be good.
Yeah, that's a little bit further on than we're at this stage. I'd rather get the RFP back from those guys first and see what that looks like before we go too far down the line. I'm not sure about that being the right place for the splash pad.
So
I'm
the,
not saying it won't happen there.
Yeah.
so questions we have, I heard, was maintenance long-term. What does it take to upkeep it? Marty, you'll have to put that together, what it's gonna take for you to upkeep it, maybe clean it yearly or however to keep the colors nice and bright.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that. I haven't, Danielle's really run with this one, so I haven't really had a look at what's all involved with this, but I'll try and find out and talk to other communities who have something similar.
Sure. Everybody seems in favor, so.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Any other questions?
Location in the park. Is there one specific spot that we're thinking?
Their power.
Next to the water,
By the power.
next to the
I don't know.
stage where there's power in the river?
I don't know. We have to,
Okay.
it depends what size we get and all that good stuff, so. We haven't got anything in the budget for this yet, so we'll get this together and figure out when it's gonna come in and all that good stuff.
It seems like for the cost difference, it's totally worth it to do the biggest one.
Yeah, it's really not that much difference in the end.
90 by 33. How many square feet is that?
Can't do that.
2,907.
There we go. That's bigger than my house.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion on the bounce pillow? All right. Item D, adopt a park program.
So we have had a couple of residents inquire about, do we have an Adopt a Park program, or if we could implement one? And so I did some research on surrounding cities to see kind of what they have done, and put together a program here, which I have sent to the city attorney, and she's reviewed everything here. So I just wanted to share it with you so we could get your feedback and then bring it to city council. So these are kind of like the overview of the commitment and the guidelines. Whoever would choose the park, provided it has not already been adopted, you and your group would be visiting once a month for a minimum of a year. And then I just put in there, like, the best days to do this would be on Mondays following a weekend or immediately after a holiday. Of course, they can choose whichever date they want, but kind of gives them an idea of when it would be needed the most. And then it's pretty simple. They would be picking up any litter, they provide their own trash bags, gather any fallen branches or sticks and place them in a pile, and then they would let us know where in the park that the pile of sticks are, and the crew can come and pick them up. And then just any graffiti, vandalism, safety concerns, or equipment in need of repair. So they would just be visiting once a month, or as often as they'd like. We just ask once a month is their commitment for a minimum of a year. Just something that they could do for giving back to the city. And then we would provide optional signage if they wanted to purchase. This particular sign, an 18 by 24, would be, it's roughly $69.40 for the sign, and then shipping is a minimum of $20. So we would ask them to pay $90 for a sign, and then Marty's crew would install it free.
And this is,
Charge.
they don't have to do the sign.
No, they wouldn't have to put it in. It's an optional thing. So it's just kind of a overview of the program, and then I actually printed out the application guidelines and agreement that would be given to them once it's approved. So if there's any questions on that I could answer.
What are the downsides of the program?
Nobody steps up to the plate.
Yeah, but
Right.
would your crew still maybe drive by once a month or something and make sure the park wasn't in total, I mean, I'm not like they're gonna be doing a ton of, our parks probably don't get that dirty, I hope, but would your crew still like notice if they weren't getting picked up and be able to step in? That's the downside to me, right, if they don't step up?
I don't know that we would police it that way. I mean, we would know if there were bags of garbage out there.
Just like if anyone called it in like normal, I suppose,
Yeah,
it'd be no different, okay.
yeah, that's what it'd be. But I know that we've talked about, doing a clean-up day at the park in the past, and we didn't have any, response to that. This is a more formalized version of that, and I think the sign would be a good thing, so, it gives them some recognition. It also gives them, oh, my name's up there, we should be doing this type of feel,
I like it.
Yeah, like I said, I only see positives, that's why I'm trying to figure out what the negatives are.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think it takes a huge time commitment from staff to keep track of it, so I
I
don't
think-
really see any negatives.
I
Do
think
they get
it's
to-
up to them to coordinate with us when the pickups are for, you know, they'll coordinate a week ahead or whatever.
Yeah.
Say we're doing a cleanup day and we would just schedule it for pickup on the Monday or whatever days after their cleanup.
Sure.
Do they get to keep the sign if they like stop after a year or whatever, or you just
If they
keep
pay
on?
for it,
If
I
they
guess.
wanted
Yeah,
to. Yeah, they own it.
One of the perks.
It's kind of cool.
And then this is just an example I took a picture of, for like an adopt a highway, but of course it'd be adopt a park.
Yeah, because that would be my only concern, is that the sign add to the beauty of the park and not detract from the beauty of the park.
Yeah, it's not a huge sign at 18 by 24. I mean, put it by a trash bin. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually the perfect thing to put above a trash bin. You know,
Yeah,
like-
and that's great. I'm
We
not
can-
saying don't do it, just let's make sure that the sign adds to instead of
mindful, yeah.
detracts. Yeah.
Right, we could also add something in there too, that the staff would choose the location of the sign and
Yeah.
whatnot.
I think it sounds great.
Great idea.
Yeah,
I think
like
it's,
it.
yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Nice work.
So if anyone's interested, you can fill out an
We
application.
basically already do this at one
Well,
park,
speaking
so.
of signs,
I think you guys need to set an example here.
yeah, I'll adopt Leathers
Is
Park.
it- we're really close to one park that we pretty much already do this
Yeah.
for, so.
Well, we
Yeah.
lead you from the front.
Were you able to look into signs for Leathers, like restoration in progress sort of thing?
No, I haven't. so
Okay.
I'll make a note again.
Right before they spray the Roundup, maybe, and then.
Right. Somebody's dog runs on it.
Who are we paying for this?
All right. Item F, next park commission meeting, October 1st.
And have you guys got anything that you want to put on the agenda?
Homework.
Yeah, we don't have our homework.
Yeah, we got our hands full. man.
I don't have anything right now, but
Okay.
anybody else?
Yeah, if you guys think of anything.
Well, so I missed the last meeting, but I went and listened to it, and it was brought up that the path that we had proposed is now not going, and so
Yeah.
we have that budget that's now back in our paths. Can we go through that map again and maybe
Oh, sure.
look at something
idea.
else, and so then that way we can stay proactive on the planning?
And we still have that map of how we prioritized them.
Yeah, I've got it somewhere, yeah.
Okay.
And how it was prioritized. So it would probably be the next high-ranking trail that we go for, I guess. I'd have to revisit that a little bit, but we can do it
Yeah.
at the next meeting.
But that would be good. And then also, Three Rivers came and shared with their paths. So if we could bring that information to that meeting, it might help us in making decisions if we have the information from the past that are their plans. So then
Yeah.
we're not picking things that are already,
I guess, yeah. I didn't watch that meeting, but do you know what they're doing on the south side of the park reserve, all that clearing? It's like they're putting a road through or something? Maybe it's not the park reserve, I guess, I don't know if it's their property, but down on the south end of Fernbrook, it's probably Maple Grove, not Dayton, but.
Utilities, isn't it?
Is it
Fiber
u-
and stuff?
Oh, is it utilities? Okay. maybe.
They have bought some land down that end, but I don't think they've started on developing it.
There's a huge path being put through the woods, and I wasn't sure if you might know what it is.
No, I'm not aware of what that is.
With the paths, was there any movement on those properties down south by the development? One was kind of a swamp that we looked at, another one that was for sale right on the corner of, that's not 125th.
Oh, French Lake Territorial.
Thank you.
Yeah. The one with the HOA property,
Yeah,
nothing's happening with that at the moment.
okay. All right. So any other items, submit them to Marty, so we can discuss at the next meeting on October 1st. With that, adjournment, first and second.
A motion to adjourn?
I can second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Call the meeting to end.